Episode 5 of C Sharp. This is going to be about loops, pretty much while loops, do while loops, for loops, and for each loops. So let's get started. Let's have an integer a is equal to int32 dot parse. Okay, so I've got the input handled. Now let's do a loop. So while a is equal to while a is less than or equal to 10, console.writeLine a. So if I type in the value a, this will loop forever. If I put 4, it will loop forever. If I put, let me put a write line after this so you can see where the input is written. Okay, so if I put 4, and if I was to get to the top, which I can't get to because it keeps getting deleted and rewritten to, it's infinitely looping. Basically, it wrote 4, and then it wrote these 2 lines, and it kept on writing 4 over and over again. This is because it loops while this statement is true, and it always is true. So you need to make it false within the loop. So a is equal to 4. No, is equal to. I'm going to use the incremental operators from before. A plus equals a plus plus. So let's run this. If I type 0, it does that. If I type 5, it does that. Now this plus plus operator can be nested inside this statement here. And that can be gone like that. So this would work as well. So if I put 2, it does that. And that's basically a while statement. If I was to put 13, nothing will happen. Now, keep that in mind because I'm now going to show you a do while loop. So if I go here and do while a is less than or equal to 10, put this statement inside of it. Then if I was to put 13, it'd still display the answer, whereas if I was to put 0, it wouldn't. So it keeps doing it. What I'm trying to say is it enters and does the statement regardless of the value of a, whereas with a while statement it checked the value of a and then determined whether it's allowed to go in or not, whereas this one goes in regardless. So the difference between a do while loop and a while loop is a way to iterate code, and you also need to make sure that there is a condition to make it leave. You need to increment the operator within to allow it to exit the for loop, or make sure this condition can be true eventually. So let's do a for loop now. A for loop basically does this, but it's with an incremental operator nested within it. So what we could do, int I is equal to 0, where I is less than or equal to 10, I plus plus. This input isn't needed, so let's get rid of that. And this is our for loop. So in here I could write console.writeLine I is. I'll keep using both types of write lines to mix it up. And then you see i's values 0 to 10. You can increment by 2, I plus equals 2, like so. Doubles, if I was to triple it, then that would work, but it wouldn't get to 12. You can also do, if I was to set this to 100, I could say I'll make it double each time, times equals 2. Oh, sorry, the value of I is currently 0. So that equal to 1. so it doubles the numbers until it's less than 100. So that's basically how a for loop statement works. If I remove these, that's allowed because there's only one statement within. If I wanted to do a for loop inside a for loop called a nested for loop, then that would be allowed too. I would just do this, this, and then I put the output here. And you might think that there's two statements within this for loop, but in reality there's only one, because this treats this as one statement and this itself treats this as one statement. So that's how that works, because this for loop treats this as one line of code like this, and if you think about the braces, it's like this, and the braces are like that. That's how the computer thinks of it. So this has one statement and this has one statement. So let's undo all that. So because this variable has I, then this needs to have j. So j can equal 1, y it's less than 100. J can plus equal I. J can equal I, well j is less than 1000. J times equals 3, and I'm going to value of I is equal to 0, and new line, actually I won't put a new line, and then comma j is equal to 1, like so. I don't know how this is going to turn out, some weird numbers. So the value of I goes up, and then j goes up until it gets to 1000, then it gets to value of 2, and j triples until it gets to that number. So it's kind of interesting pattern of numbers you can see here. But notice it always finishes. If I was to put j, if there's some condition that would make this not be true, then it would loop forever. Let's say j divide equals 3. Then this will loop forever. Finally, I want to show you the for each loop. This has an implementation with arrays, which is quite useful, and like lists and many other things, but I can't really show you that. The one thing I can show you it with is a string. So if I had a string, let's say my text is equal to hello, then I can make a for each loop. For each, and then you say the data type of each element within a string. So a string is made up of many chars. So for each char character in my text. So this makes a variable for each of the letters, the characters within inside the string. So for its first iteration, the character will be H, and then after that it will be E, then LLO. So it will loop 5 times, and each time it will display the value of character will be the letter within the my text string. So I was to write console.writeLine character like so, then it will just write hello vertically. There is no iterative number here, so if you want to create one, you have to do it yourself. Int I is equal to 0, and then inside the loop put I++, and that would increment the variable. You could then also put something like my text position I is equal to the character, like so. So this would work. No, I did that wrong. I needs to be 0, and this needs to be 1, and this needs to be I. Yeah, like that. As you can see, computers count from 0, so it goes from 0 to 4. This is kind of breaching on what we do with arrays, which you'll see in a later episode. Finally, if we go back to, for example, the for loop, just to make it a bit more simpler, so I'll get rid of this. Actually, for the for loop, I'll show you a little shortcut if you're using Visual Studio. If you type for and then press tab, it will auto generate this code for you. So you can just tab across that length. You can put 10 there, and then just that should be good. You want to put or equal to, depending on what you want. But yeah, that's a quick way of doing a for loop. So let's say it has this for loop. In here, I'm going to show you the break and continue statements. So if you were to put if I is equal to 7, then break. Console dot writeLine I. So this should loop until it gets to 7, and then it should break out. Well, it gets to 6 in fact, because it breaks before it can get to the writeLine statement. So that basically breaks out the for loop. That's how breaks work. There's also continue. So if I put continue, then it will, instead of going down to here, it will loop back to the next iteration without performing the code after the continue statement, but before the end of the closing brace for the for loop. So this will just skip out 7. Yeah. So that's break and continue.